Describe your educational experiences.
In terms of my educational experience, when I was growing up, as I mentioned before, I went to both a mainstream hearing school and a residential deaf school, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought that that was how it was supposed to be. I had hearing friends, I had deaf friends, and sometimes I bonded more with the stimulation with my hearing friends in terms of the intellectual level of the discussion. But with my deaf friends, I felt like I could be myself. I could be loose. I didn't have to be in a prim and proper societal system. And looking back, I had more deaf friends, I had a lot of fun, I was culturally involved, and I tried to bridge that to my hearing friends and bring that experience to my hearing environments. But I never really felt 100% part of the team, if you will. But my academics went along just fine. I didn't think that there was a huge difference. And I was focused on the quality of education because that's why my parents thought of the mainstream opportunity. They wanted me to strengthen those areas that were important to me and not plateau. While at the School for the Deaf, there would be an opportunity to blossom as well. And both things were happening in parallel. Did that cause me confusion? You know, I was in the moment, and I really didn't think about it at the time. Looking back, I do admit that for a long time, I worked very hard to fit in with my hearing peers. It took a lot of energy, and I wasted a lot of my time doing that. I probably should have just been myself and been more comfortable with my own identity and who I was as a deaf person. Until I hit that point, it was difficult, but afterwards it was fine. Looking back and thinking about why I would dwell on such little things, I should have been more self-confident and dealt with my entire educational career that way. So, keeping in mind my education and looking at which way was better than the other in terms of mainstream or deaf residential schools, I think that really became part of who I was, and it created an open mind for me, going back and forth between the two programs and experiencing things for myself, and it broadened my possibility, and it was a unique experience for myself. Am I saying it would work for everyone? No, it's just an experience that I had on my own. That experience led me to think of college and what I would do in my college years. My mom and dad never said that you can't do something because you're deaf, ever. The only person in my life who did that to me was myself. An example of that is when I was a child and I wanted to be a Navy pilot. My father was involved as a Navy pilot in Pearl Harbor, and I constantly was fixated on wanting to be a fighter pilot, just like him. I always wanted to be a fighter pilot. And I didn't think that being hearing or deaf made a difference until I was about 10, 11, or 12 years old, and I told my mom I realized I wasn't going to be able to be a pilot. And she said, "Why?" And I said, "How am I going to communicate, Mom?" And she said, "Well, you can develop systems. You can do something, I'm sure you can." And I said, "No, Mom, I'm not sure." And it got to the point where, again, I was the one telling myself that it wasn't possible, rather than my parents telling me something wasn't possible. They always told me, whatever you want to do, you can do. What's important is that you work hard and you try your best. And that would apply to any part of life. And the limitations that came to me were those that I put on myself. And I did move on to wanting to become an attorney and different types of careers. But the important message here is that my parents never told me I could not do something because I was deaf. Never did they say that. They always said that I must work hard. That was the point. And with this experience, as I approached making a choice for college and determining what I would major in and where I would go, whether that college would be a deaf college or a hearing college, I engaged my parents. And my parents said it was my choice. And the two options in front of me were that I could go to the college of my choice, and that the second point is that you will go to college, and that it was not an option at all. And then I said, okay. And I put myself to the task of visiting schools. I went to the Rochester Institute of Technology, and at the time I was thinking of being an attorney, and they had a criminal justice program. So I visited Rochester Institute of Technology and their summer program. It was really neat. I met a lot of people, but at some level I really didn't feel like it was quite me. Then I went to Gallaudet University, and I did see something there that I didn't see at RIT. They both had academics, they both had great programs, but at Gallaudet I really wanted to play football. Gallaudet had football and RIT did not have football, and that was the simple fact why I chose Gallaudet, was because of football. I did go ahead and attend Gallaudet University. I have no regrets. Occasionally I do think to myself, well, what would I have turned out to be if I had gone to Rochester Institute for the Deaf? Again, my experience at Gallaudet was rich, and I got to see the world. I got to travel the world through opportunities there at Gallaudet University in their summer program, with their spring break programs, with their academic programs. We went backpacking across China with a group of students looking at different schools for the deaf there in China. I was at Gallaudet for 6 years, 5 years getting my bachelor's degree, which generally takes people 4 years, but I stretched it out so I could enjoy Gallaudet as long as I could. And then I was offered an accelerated graduate program, which allowed me to complete my education in 6 years. So there I was, 6 years out with my bachelor's and master's degrees.